You must understand that the world outside is not the master of your destiny. It is only the servant of your inner vision. What you assume to be true of yourself, what you dare to claim within the secret chambers of your mind, is the very seed from which tomorrow's harvest is born. The imagination, clothed in assumption, bends reality to fit the shape of your inner conviction. Keep assuming, even when nothing in the outer world gives you reason to believe. Keep assuming when the facts contradict you, when people laugh at you, when your own senses mock the idea. For the outer world is only the echo of yesterday's thoughts. It is not the prophecy of your tomorrow. If you persist, the shadow must give way to the light, and the facts must bow to the state you have chosen to occupy. What you consistently assume becomes law in your world. This is no accident, no chance. It is the nature of creation itself. Every great achievement, every blessing, every miracle, first lived as an unseen assumption in the mind of the one who dared to believe. Do not beg, do not chase. Simply assume, and let the unseen power arrange all things to fulfill your faith. Reality is fluid, pliable, obedient. It bends not to force, not to struggle, but to the quiet certainty of assumption. To walk in the end, to feel the joy of the fulfilled desire now, is to command the universe without lifting a finger. You do not need to know how it will come, nor when. You need only to assume that it already is. So, remain faithful to your vision. Keep assuming wealth, and wealth must find you. Keep assuming love, and love must appear. Keep assuming success, and the world will conspire to make it so. Your task is not to doubt, not to argue, but to persist until what was once invisible becomes undeniable fact. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream or a childish game. It is the very foundation upon which reality itself rests. Every structure you see, every invention you hold, every circumstance you live in was once invisible, existing only in the quiet corridors of someone's imagination. The unseen gives birth to the seen, and it does so unfailingly. What you allow yourself to assume inwardly, no matter how unlikely or distant it may appear, sets the stage for the world you will eventually experience. The mind is not a passive observer of life. It is the silent creator, shaping the canvas of existence. If you look at your current surroundings, you may think they are the result of chance, luck, or external forces beyond your control. Yet if you trace them back, you will find their root in what you once accepted as possible or impossible for yourself. Your imagination is the cause, and life is the effect. The roles are never reversed. To change the effect, you must go back to the cause, your inner assumptions. When you dare to see yourself differently within, when you claim inwardly that something is already yours, the outer world cannot help but reorganize itself to reflect that claim. This is why it is dangerous to dwell on limitation, fear, or failure. The imagination is impartial. It does not judge between good or bad, wealth or poverty, love or loneliness. It only brings forth into form what you persist in assuming to be true. A mind filled with worry creates conditions to confirm that worry. A mind saturated with faith and vision produces events that testify to its belief. You are never the victim of circumstances. You are the author of them. Consider this truth. A person who imagines themselves successful, even when all appearances suggest the opposite, begins to think, act, and feel as though success is inevitable. This internal shift creates opportunities, draws connections, and sparks ideas that the old state could never access. the world bends to meet the conviction of the one who assumes. It may not be immediate, but it is certain. The outer must yield to the inner, for imagination is the womb of all creation. Every great truth of life begins in the unseen. What you assume to be true within yourself, though invisible at first, begins to solidify with persistence until it becomes the very fabric of your reality. Assumptions are not idle thoughts. They are seeds planted deep within the soil of consciousness. And just as a seed, though hidden underground, inevitably breaks forth into visible form, so too will your inner assumptions, if nourished and sustained, manifest as fact in your outer world. The power lies not in a single fleeting thought, but in persistence. To persist in the unseen means to hold fast to an inner conviction, even when every outward appearance argues against it. The senses may mock you, circumstances may contradict you, and people may doubt you. But your persistence is the law that governs creation. What you refuse to let go of inwardly must eventually take shape outwardly. Reality cannot resist the weight of a sustained assumption. Think of those who have achieved what once seemed impossible. Long before their victories, they carried within themselves an assumption of success. They did not wait for evidence. They created the evidence by refusing to surrender their vision. In the silence of their imagination, they lived as if it were already done. And because they persisted, the invisible crystallized into the visible. Their assumption hardened into fact. This is the secret of transformation. You are not to struggle with the outer world, for it is only the shadow of your inner state. Shadows have no power of their own. Instead, shift your focus to the unseen reality you desire and hold it with unwavering faith. Day by day, moment by moment, refuse to betray your inner conviction by bowing to appearances. The more real your assumption becomes to you inwardly, the more inevitable its manifestation becomes outwardly. Consider the simplicity of this law. Assume health, and health begins to clothe itself in your experience. Assume wealth, and wealth finds its way into your life. Assume love, and love responds to your vibration. The outer world must mirror the inner world, for it has no life of its own. Do not waver. Do not give in to doubt. Let your assumptions be your anchor, and persist until the unseen is seen. For what you assume with steadfastness, you will one day hold in your hands. Assumptions faithfully kept harden into fact, and no power in the world can stop them from becoming your lived reality. Life often deceives the untrained eye. It presents conditions, circumstances, and appearances as though they hold absolute power over your destiny. Yet the truth is this: what you see around you now is nothing more than the outpicturing of past beliefs, the residue of states once assumed. These conditions are shadows, not substance. They may appear solid and immovable, but they are already in the process of dissolving, for they cannot withstand the force of a new assumption held with persistence. To waver because of appearances is to give authority to the past. It is to let yesterday's thoughts dictate tomorrow's life. Outer circumstances are echoes, delayed reflections of what you once imagined to be true. But the present moment is always fertile ground for new creation when you dare to occupy a new inner state and remain faithful to it. The old conditions must fade and the new must rise to take their place. The shadow has no choice but to conform to the light that casts it. Imagine standing before a mirror. If you frown, the reflection frowns back. If you smile, the reflection smiles. You would not attempt to change the reflection directly. You know instinctively that you must first change yourself. The same law governs life. The world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the state you carry within. To struggle against appearances is futile. To change the inner state is mastery. This is why you are told not to waver. The moment you shift your assumption, even if no evidence yet exists, reality begins to reorganize itself to support your new conviction. The outer world lags behind the inner, but it cannot resist forever. Persist long enough in your chosen state, and the world will bend to match it. Those who understand this secret live above the tyranny of appearances. They are not disturbed by temporary lack, rejection, or difficulty, for they know these are but remnants of old beliefs. They do not panic when life seems contrary to their desires, because they have already claimed inwardly the state they wish to see. And knowing the law, they rest in faith, confident that the outer must yield to the inner. So, do not let appearances sway you. Do not give your power to shadows. Hold fast to your vision. Occupy the inner state of fulfillment and let the world adjust itself in time. For appearances are fleeting, but your inner conviction is eternal. When you refuse to waver, reality must bow to the truth you carry within. To live from the end is to embrace the truth that creation is finished. All that you could ever desire already exists as a possibility within you, waiting to be called forth by your assumption. The secret is not to long for the end or to look at it as something far away, but to enter into it now with your imagination. You are not to think of the desire as something to be attained in the future. You are to think from it, to dwell in the feeling that it is already yours. When you live from the end, you shift the entire foundation of your being. You no longer ask, when will it come or how will it happen? Those questions dissolve, for the end is already present within you. By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you claim the reality inwardly, and life must rearrange itself outwardly to reflect what you have dared to believe. The outer world does not lead you, it follows you. It follows you. Your inner state is always the cause. This principle is not about pretending or forcing, it is about embodying. If you wish for love, you feel now the joy of being cherished. If you wish for abundance, you carry within you the security and freedom of already being prosperous. If you wish for health, you walk inwardly in the strength and vitality of wholeness. To live from the end is to let the feeling of fulfillment saturate your imagination until it becomes more real than any current circumstance. The world may still show you evidence of the old state, but your task is not to waver. You remain anchored in the end, knowing the outer must eventually mirror the inner. Living from the end requires faith, for it means you abandon the comfort of appearances and trust the unseen reality you have claimed. Yet this faith is the power that brings all things into being. Consider an actor who steps into a role. Though the story has not yet unfolded, he plays his part as if the ending is already written. And so it is with you. You must step into the role of your fulfilled desire, not in hope but in certainty. By living from the end, you rehearse the reality until the play of life itself delivers the scene. The world you see around you is not separate from you. It is your own consciousness objectified. Life has no independent voice or will apart from the state you consistently dwell in. It reflects back to you like a mirror the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you carry within. This is why two people can live in the same city, under the same conditions, yet experience life so differently. One sees endless opportunities, while the other sees nothing but struggle. The difference is not in the world itself, but in the inner state each one occupies. Your inner world is the cause, and the outer world is the effect. Just as a mirror cannot reflect something that is not already before it, life cannot show you anything that does not first exist within your consciousness. If you carry fear, life will echo fear. If you carry faith, life will echo faith. If you feel abundant within, abundance will show up without. This law is unwavering and impartial. The tragedy is that many people try to change the reflection without changing themselves. They struggle with circumstances, fight against conditions, and complain about life, not realizing they are only wrestling with shadows. To stand before a mirror and demand a new reflection without changing your expression is folly. The mirror merely reflects, so does life. The only real power lies in changing the inner state you consistently occupy. When you dwell in a state long enough, it becomes natural. If you consistently occupy the state of success, even before success appears outwardly, your thoughts, actions, and energy align with it. Soon, the world bends to confirm that inner reality. If you occupy the state of love, even before a relationship appears, your heart radiates it, and life mirrors it back in forms you could not have predicted. The secret, then, is consistency. Passing thoughts do not shape reality. It is the state you return to again and again, the mood you dwell in, the conviction you carry that sets the tone for your life. You cannot escape your inner state, for the world is compelled to show you what you truly believe about yourself. So if you wish to transform your life, look not outward, but inward. Ask yourself, what state am I living from? What assumptions am I carrying daily? For life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. The world is your mirror, and it faithfully reflects the state you persistently occupy. Change within, and the reflection must change without. Faith is not a passive hope or a mere wish. It is the unwavering persistence of assumption in the face of all contradiction. To have faith is to hold firmly to the unseen reality you desire, regardless of what the senses report. It is the inner certainty that what you imagine and assume as true will inevitably take form, even when outward circumstances suggest the opposite. Faith is not dependent on proof. It is proof in itself, born from the persistence of assumption. The world around you is full of evidence that seems to contradict your desires. You may see lack where you seek abundance, rejection where you seek love, or failure where you seek success. Yet to be governed by this evidence is to give power to the wrong source. Faith is the ability to persist in your assumption despite all appearances. It is the quiet, unshakable conviction that the end you envision is already accomplished. When you persist in this way, reality itself has no choice but to bend to your belief. Consider the power of sustained assumption. When you assume a state and refuse to abandon it, your mind aligns with that reality. Every thought, feeling, and action begins to reinforce the assumption. Your inner world becomes a magnet, drawing circumstances and events into harmony with the state you have assumed. The law of creation does not require struggle, it requires consistency. It requires that you remain faithful to your inner conviction, even when the outer world seems contrary. This is unity. It requires that you remain faithful to your inner conviction, even when the outer world seems contrary. Faith, in this sense, is the engine by which the unseen becomes seen. It is the force that converts imagination into fact. The moment you falter, doubt, or surrender to evidence, the process halts. But when you persist, when you assume, feel, and dwell in the reality you desire, the world inevitably adjusts to conform to that state. This is the secret power of creation, the ability to remain steadfast in the unseen, knowing it will manifest without fail. Those who master this law do not rely on external validation. They are unmoved by temporary setbacks, contradictions, or delays. They know that the senses report only the remnants of old beliefs, and that true reality is shaped by the assumption they hold within. Faith is the refusal to be swayed, the determination to remain loyal to the end, even when evidence appears to deny it. To live in faith is to live as if your desire is already fulfilled, to assume it with persistence until it is undeniable. This is the secret by which reality bends, the sustained assumption that refuses to be shaken. Through faith, the invisible becomes visible, the impossible becomes inevitable, and life conforms to the inner world you steadfastly uphold. In conclusion, the truth is simple yet profound. Your inner world is the ultimate architect of your life. Every thought you hold, every assumption you embrace, and every state you persist in shapes the reality you experience. Imagination is the unseen power that molds the outer world. Assumptions harden into fact, and reality itself bends to the faith you carry within. Appearances are fleeting shadows, and the outer circumstances cannot withstand the force of a new inner state. When you live from the end, dwell in fulfillment, and maintain unwavering faith, life aligns with your vision. Keep assuming, remain steadfast, and trust that the universe will mirror the state you consistently occupy. The world is not your master, it is your reflection. Persist, believe, and let reality bend in your favor. Thank you for taking the time to listen, reflect, and embrace these truths. May you walk forward with confidence, living as if all you desire is already yours, and may your imagination and faith guide every step of your journey.